Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Um, I am Rachel Donnelly with Black Dress Consultants, and we're a special pop-up edition of our Instagram Live today. Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm doing good, Rachel.
Oh my goodness,
I
here
gotta
we are.
change my lighting. Oh, okay. There we go.
All right, now we're cooking with gas.
Yes.
All right, awesome. Okay, so I was just saying that this is a special pop-up edition of Instagram Live, and we are just telling the world about our love fest for each other, and this is our special way to do it, and we're doing it together to commemorate International Widows Day.
Yes, we are.
Okay,
And
I should let you introduce yourself.
well, Rachel. Rachel's my new BFF, just FYI.
Exactly. Mm-hmm,
So I'm Kathi. I'll just call me Kathi B because my last name is a doozy, and we don't want that.
No, we don't.
Nobody needs that to raise their hand in the back of the row saying, that's my last name. Yes. So, yes, I'm the big W. I am a widow.
Yes.
But widowhood does not define me.
It does not.
So, yeah. A little bit about me. I became a widow young and raised 5 kids. You know, pregnant with my youngest when my husband was diagnosed with cancer. And so, mom, stepmom, wife, widow.
Wow.
But
that is a lot of things to add to your resume. That's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're here on a mission.
We are on a mission, and we're here to showcase, well, not only to commemorate International Widows Day, but to talk about actionable steps that we can do in our community to help all the big W's, the widows, and to talk about some roadblocks, some challenges, and all the things that happens to widows, not only in our community, but worldwide. And you have now made it your mission in your world, in your profession. You call yourself, you have the One Well Widow podcast. You do widow coaching, or you help professionals better tailor their services to help widows. So, but let's just dive in and just talk about what it means, well, to be the big W and what people should take away from today.
Okay. Well, I think first, when we talk about, International Widows Day, it's, worldwide. I mean, there are millions upon millions of widows out there. And, I feel that being a widow is a loss very different than other loss. You can lose a sister, a brother, a mother, a child. Mm-hmm. But when it's a spouse, it's financial. It's your livelihood.
Yes.
And there are so many women worldwide in poverty, being discriminated against, their property, their rights taken from them. So I feel like in the U.S., we have more of an advantage, but still just lifelong suppression.
Yes.
Of widows being ignored and hushed in the corner and all the things.
Well, and I was talking with Jennifer O'Brien last night, the hospice doctor's widow, and we were talking about sort of her beef with the word widow, because it has such a negative connotation, and you sort of bristle, Lydia.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know how to clear a room. I mean, I can walk in a room, and if that subject comes up, I mean, people are gone.
Yeah.
Because they just don't know what to say, what to do.
Right.
It's awkward.
Right.
I mean, it's like, would you stand on the high dive alone naked? It's like, it's awkward.
Yes.
So you just want to get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
So
it's awkward for you. It's awkward
yes.
for me. Yeah, it's everybody. Let's all acknowledge the awkwardness.
Yes.
And by the way, I am not a widow. So I have not, I want to throw that out there. I'm not pretending. I'm not to be something I'm not. My mom was a young widow. My dad died when I was 48. And, I watched my mom pretty much spend the first year or two in bed. It was she had 3 kids to raise, and similar to your story. And just the dynamics of your life and your identity, and how people categorize you, how they invite you to social situations. Like, your whole universe just tilts.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And I think for most people, widows still want to be included.
Yes.
Keep on inviting me. I might show up, I might not. Keep on stopping by. Keep on reaching out.
Right.
Because I'm not going to. Specifically, widows that first year, it is overwhelming. I mean, I can relate. I would get myself up, get all my kids to where they needed to go, and I'd go back home and go to bed. And I did it for a year. And I mean, I'm somebody who had a job. I was, professional and did all those things. I don't know how I did it. And it's just a blur. And so to keep on reaching in and checking in on people. I mean, not just on the day they died or on the day you were married. I mean, there's like a holiday every month, if not 2, right?
I mean, the other day I was like, oh, I missed National Selfie Day. Dang
well,
it.
Hello. When you're a widow, you take one by yourself. Of course, that was the original selfie.
The original selfie.
Yes, the OG
I love widows
of
are
selfies.
the original selfies. We need to hashtag that. I mean, let me buy the URL right now. So I love it. Yes.
But one of the takeaways we talked about in What Can You Do Today of really acknowledging a widow, say their husband's name, reach out. If you know a widow that is in the same phase of life that you are, invite her. A lot of things with kids and back to school night and college night, you can't believe how many of those nights I missed because I didn't remember. I didn't want to go. Come pick me up. Come help me go to these things that I have to go to for my kids, but are so daunting. Yeah. And, you're the turd in the punch bowl again at this meeting.
I mean, talk about clearing a room. I mean, you definitely are. But you're right. It's like empowering that widow, but not pitying them. No pity zone.
Yes, an NPZ.
NPZ, all right. NPZ, the original selfie. We've got so many hashtagable things right now.
It's gold. Yeah.
It's gold today. You're welcome, everybody. If there's anybody listening.
I can laugh about it now.
Yeah.
I coach widows too, and I help them that second year, of what are you going to do? What do you want your lifestyle to be? Because widows can stay in that grief.
Oh God.
For years.
Yes. Well, and
And
it used to be they were required to.
well, hello.
Yeah.
Yes, we might as well get some knitting needles, 9 cats,
Exactly.
and a rocking chair.
Well, where's yours? Is yours back there somewhere? No, don't see any rocking chairs. Well, and I mean, that was, one of the inspirations for me naming my business Black Dress Consultants is because my mom, not only was she a widow, but she became an expert. She was a historian and research librarian and became an expert in Victorian mourning practices. And she used to be a docent and do presentations at local historical societies. But my sister and I would always do rock, paper, scissors of who got to drop off this giant black nightmare of a person when she would get dressed up in like all the garb. And she would explain, the traditions and the jewelry and and it was unbelievable what women were required to do and wear for years. For years.
For years.
Yeah.
Culturally, we're an outcast. It's like the biggest game of dodgeball where you just get hit in the head and you're just expected to stay on the side.
That'd be a great game. Widow dodgeball.
Widow dodgeball. And
I'm kidding, everybody. I'm kidding.
Yes. The reality is, the loss of a spouse is the number one most stressful experience.
Yes, it is.
In the world. And widows and widowers experience very similar things. However, more women will become widows. 80% of men die married. There is one widower to every widow, to every 3 widows.
Yes.
So the reality is you are going to outlive your spouse if you're a female. That's just statistics.
Yeah, a statistic, yeah.
I mean, I hate people saying, well, the data said and the statistics said. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, statistics probably didn't, you didn't think your husband was going to get brain cancer. So,
No.
Yeah.
No, and, widows are 59. That's the average age now. So
really, I didn't realize that.
In the U.S. it's 59. So you think of how many more years that she's going to live, and her finances, her wealth, her livelihood, lifestyle.
Yes.
Really, that has to be handled before anything else.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest concerns that I hear from widows that I work with, clients that I work with after their husbands has passed away is, is my money going to outlive me, or am I going to outlive my money? And many times they haven't paid bills. Their husband was the one that took care of all of that. And, I'm not trying to get into any gender politics of anything, but, we all do our things. We all have our roles when you're married and you have kids, and we all do our things. And so a lot of times, they're coming out and they're like, oh my gosh, what's the Wells Fargo password? I didn't, how do I apply for the pension benefits? All of the things. And not only are they in this fog, and the first year is the ultimate dumpster fire for them, but then coming out and having the tools and the resources and being empowered to take over their finances and feel secure that they are going to have things in place for them to live comfortably, take care of any, kids that are still in the home, and, all those things.
You say fog and they call it a widow's fog, and it's true.
Yeah.
There are so many things and to-dos that you and your business handle that I wish I would have had you and your services and your humor Um, that first year, I wish we would have known each other. Because you really don't realize the volume. The paperwork is paralyzing.
Oh my gosh.
And, you know, after you've explained on the phone to a credit card company that your husband died and you have to get their name off the thing, you explain it 4 or 5 times till the last time and you get disconnected. And there's probably 100 of those types of things.
Oh yeah.
Or more.
At least. And then, you know, I sort of, I don't know if you have this with clients, you know, there's no one size fits all for after you lose your spouse.
No.
And you also have to, while you have to close down accounts and let people know and get their name off of things, there are also times where I've seen widows do it too fast, where they call the day after or what have you, and then they're locked out of using that credit card that their name, that they weren't on, or their husband was the primary and they were just an added user. Or a widow that I worked with, you know, they use the same login for their banking. And they both just logged in and paid the bills and boop, boop, boop. Well, after he died, she called the bank and they were like, oh, nope, sorry. They shut his account down. Well, then she lost like all of those accounts. And, you know, the bill pays that were set up. And so that's the thing, is like having those resources and having someone to help guide you through that, to close out accounts, but don't lock yourself out of things.
No, I think it's really important when you're a widow, because I experience exactly what you're saying, Rachel, of really finding someone that you can trust, like Rachel, or a financial advisor or wealth advisor, that can narrow it down to, you know, now, soon, and later. Because so many things are not that urgent.
Yeah, there's no fire on these things, you know.
No, and everybody and their dog tells you what has to be done.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, go away. I don't want to talk to anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you have to really just be and grieve and cry.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I'm sure my kids got fed. I'm sure they got
they're still alive, so obviously they did.
They did.
It might have been, you know, beefaroni and fruit roll-ups, but
hey,
you know,
there's no judgment.
There's vitamin C in that. I mean, so.
But that first year, you know, you hate to put it to a year, but we think chronologically. Okay, there's certain weeks I could say, you know, the first month or the first 3 months, 6 months, whatever. You know, there's things that have to be done initially.
Yeah.
There's things that can wait for 6 months.
Totally. Yeah.
And then after that first year, you know, you're starting to understand where you are. But there's still so many things, back to this International Widows Day.
Yes.
There's so much suppression.
We kind of got off on a tangent there, didn't we? But it's all widows based. But
oh yeah, yeah. I like your skincare line, though. By the way, speaking of tangents,
we'll come back to that.
Yes. Okay. Exactly. So, a ton of suppression for widows. You know, just an example. You know, Social Security benefits. Okay, so you get Social Security benefits when you have a loss of spouse.
Right.
However, there are limits. So, you know, you can only make, currently now it's a little over $1,500 a month. So if you work, if you make above that, you pay back $1 to every 2 you make. So it's like, okay, I'll buy the pair of shoes, and I have to give you 1 back. I mean, it's like, it wasn't about the money.
Right.
It was about the control. And
Yeah.
once again, somebody's putting their thumb on me. You know, I knew I only had a year for insurance under my husband's position
Okay.
at FedEx. He was a
Right.
FedEx pilot, so we had
Oh,
very good benefits.
okay.
And that's another thing with International Widows Day. We're trying to petition to get better
Right.
insurance time frames. How about you give me 2 or 3 years
Exactly.
rather than 1?
A year goes by.
Yeah. How about Social Security?
Yeah.
You don't penalize me for going back to work.
Right.
You know, I went back to college, and then I started teaching at the university, and I literally would get that notice from Social Security every month saying, you made over this amount, so you owe us this amount. And it was just like
a
getting hit in the
punishment.
head.
Wow.
It's just BS.
Yeah.
It's unfair
It is.
to people who have already been through hell and back.
Exactly.
We want widows to move forward, but do we?
Yeah.
Are we supported by laws, legislation,
Exactly.
Policies?
Exactly. Yes, we do. But yet, when the rubber hits the road, there are a lot of things that really hinder that.
Yeah, it's like that third wheel who comes, you're like, it's a couple's night, but then that one person shows up and you're like, sure, we'd love to have you come along. When really we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. They want to set you up, or they think you're after their husband, which you might have been. I mean,
no, setting up. When people set you up and then you see who they set you up with, you're like, how desperate do you think I am?
Yeah, for reals. No, thanks, but
no, thank you.
No, thank you. Yes, thanks, but no thanks. Moving on.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't set up a widow unless you ask them. Don't pity them, but also don't judge them.
Don't judge them.
I mean, I know so many widows, well, several widows who are younger than me, younger, in their 20s, in their 30s, and they've unfortunately become widows. And the judgment of they've moved on, or they're dating someone new, and people have an opinion. And it's just so infuriating. It's, first of all, mind your own freaking business. That's A. And B, it's none of your business. I mean, and how can you make a judgment on what they're doing, what they've gone through, and what's best for them and their next steps? Like, how can you?
I think a lot of the growth for widows, just on that subject, is really doing some self-work in how to create boundaries with people, how to, talk to people who are your safe people, who aren't, how to really take care of yourself so that you don't have to put up with that. Because I have learned, it's been 15 years since my husband passed. I've had a lot of time, perspective, and I've done a lot of work on my journey so that I don't allow other people to value my decisions.
I love that.
I believe that I set a boundary, not to keep you out, but to bring you up where I need your support.
I love that. That's golden right there. That is just golden. We need to add that to our other hashtags.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're like liquid gold.
We are. Yes, we are.
Yes.
All right.
But I've learned so much from other people. And I think it's really important, where you're at, you're basically teaching and coaching people.
Right.
I'm basically teaching, coaching people because we benefited from other people coaching us and teaching us.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, one of the things that really stuck with me that I've seen you post a lot about is how professionals work with widows after their husband has passed away or their spouse, or and how they don't modify, change their behaviors to serve that widow.
Yeah.
And one statistic that you pointed out was that 70% of widows leave their financial advisor in the first year
Yes.
after
Yes.
a loved one has passed away.
Yes.
I mean, that just blew my mind. I don't know why, but it just did.
Well, and I mean, imagine, you know, you talked a little bit about not bringing up gender,
Right.
but the reality is that the financial and wealth management arena historically has been male dominated.
Right. Right.
And so there's been some habits and verbiage that were not as user friendly to women and widows. And so it's incorporating some of those tactics where, you know, you go to Starbucks, you can order any type of coffee you want. Well, many financial advisors just handing you black coffee and saying, here you go.
That's, oh, I love that analogy.
You know, we kind of have to cater to and understand the needs of widows, how to be grief literate, and really know how to talk about grief, know how to listen to a grieving person, know what to say, know what not to say, what's helpful, what isn't, because you are really, especially widows and their finances and wealth, you know, they're going to have a ton of the billions of dollars in wealth transition in the next 10, 20, 30 years, because all the baby boomers sadly are going to be dying. Right. And you're going to have a ton of widows on your hand.
Yes.
And, you know, we want the boutique experience, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you don't want the pity. You don't want the judgment, and we want you to be grief literate. And I'm speaking for you, you want your Frappuccino, mocha latte, not
extra
black
hot.
coffee.
Yes.
Extra hot. Yes.
Yeah. And so, you know, we're doing that in every other arena of our lives.
Yeah.
You know, we want the house we want, you know, couples.
The user experience. Yes.
Yeah. But then when we go to widows, we kind of get this whole, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so we go back to the black coffee. You know, we're serving it up, but they're not taking it. And the reality is they're dumping their financial advisor. And I think there's a huge opportunity for wealth management professionals, companies, to not only serve widows for the numbers, but to serve them in ways beyond the numbers.
Yes.
How about help them? Maybe take them, if you need to introduce them to a new accountant or an estate attorney, maybe you go with them the first time.
Yes.
You know, would you just drop a kindergartner off in a parking lot and say, you know, good luck, hope it goes well today? We are beginners.
No. Yes, that's
widows
true. Okay.
Are beginners. We're rebuilding a life, and we don't know how to do it.
I love that. So you really need, if you're a professional out there, whether you're in finance, you're an attorney, what have you, take that widow's hand and help guide them. Become grief literate, drop the pity and the judgment, and include them.
Yes.
In decisions, in, you know, engage them and help them be a partner in the plans for them.
Because don't be surprised if you do that, you become a better parent, a better spouse, really a better human.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, you know, prior to me becoming a widow, I didn't even think about it. You know,
And
you're
that,
living your life and you
yeah.
see people die and you see this and that. I didn't even think about it in these terms, but.
Well, and you really probably didn't think about seeing widows, just like really seeing them.
Yes. Yes.
And not sort of clumping them in, but as just that this was the, I don't know, chapter in their life or the chapter for the rest of their life, but really seeing and really acknowledging what's going on in their lives. Like we said, engaging them, saying their husband's name, making their husband or their, spouse still part of their lives. I mean, I know I didn't, I didn't think about, really what my mom's experience was or my grandmother's or, but really looking back and saying, oh my gosh, how could I have done things differently? And then how can I show up for widows now in a different way?
Yes. Because I challenge people every day and people who I meet, I don't keep it under wraps anymore. I tell them about my story. And if you work with widows, you should be shouting that from the rooftops because you are making a difference. And yes, initially it might make people feel uncomfortable, but you know what? They go home that night and they remember something.
Exactly.
And they think a little bit differently. And they start to think about their own mortality.
Yeah.
And that's really what I want. I really want couples to talk about the what ifs. Right. But it's not really the what if. It's the when.
Yeah.
When this happens, I want to be prepared. Yeah. I want to be able to have my kids go to college if I'm not there. Yes. I want, them to, have some stability that they would have had before. Yeah. And it takes people to put their big people pants on.
They do.
Sit down and have that conversation.
You do. It is no fun, like I say all the time, but it is so necessary. And we got to have the win talk and the get life insurance talk, which I know it's not sexy talking about life insurance, but
you have to do it because in reality, it's not life insurance. It's death insurance.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, let's just say what it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You are getting something from somebody's death.
And like you said, odds are you're going to be in the couple's life. There's going to be the widow left behind and not the widower.
Exactly.
So get more life insurance on the hubs.
Yes, get as much as you can. It's not as expensive as you think. Mm-hmm. You can go and get life insurance right now for, $30, $40, $50. Start there. Or, a lot of employment people pay for your life insurance. But if you don't have life insurance, you have to have it. I interviewed a woman on my podcast. She became a widow at like 23. And they had 2 little kids. And like 2 or 3 weeks prior, a friend of theirs said, hey, I'm wondering if you want life insurance, And they almost just bought it because they were a friend. They didn't really think they needed it.
Right.
And boy, was that a life game-changing thing for her.
Oh my God. Those underwriters were just like scratching their...
Yes. Yes.
Wow. I mean, talk about serendipitous.
Very, very much. And what little it takes per month.
And like, how could you quantify that? Like, how has that changed the trajectory of her life by having that?
Oh, it was just unbelievable. She was able to move forward, to own a home, to, she got remarried. They were able to build a life. They had more children together. They, just so many things. If we wouldn't have had life insurance, and a pension or all of those things that, my beautiful husband was wise enough to set up, I don't know where I'd be. I mean, I'd like to think I'd be very similar to where I am because I was raised by rock star parents who just taught me to get my butt off the ground, dust yourself off, and you've got work to do.
But it's not like you're laying around now,
no,
eating bonbons and watching, soap operas because of the life insurance. You took that and you're propelling you forward to where you are now.
It is. I'm still very, aside from what I do, and I'm sure what you do, there's the bigger why. For me, I don't want any widow now or in the future to worry about money, to be controlled by government policies, to, National Widows Day is there's a link in the bio. I'm sure you'll put it in to sign a petition.
Yeah.
That's going to go in front of President Biden. And it's all about, acknowledging widows. This day, holidays for widows, bereavement policy. I mean, currently, bereavement policies, there's only 3 states that have mandated bereavement policies. And the majority of bereavement policies give 3 days to widows.
Oh my God.
That's just ridiculous. The Family Leave Act gives 12 weeks in a 12-month period for the birth of a child.
Right.
Widows and widowers need that same right in bereavement.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you've experienced loss. Would it take 3 days for you to get?
God. I mean, I quit my job when my mom died, and I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I had to quit my job because I had just started a new job, and I had no time off in the first 90 days, and I had to eventually leave because there was no way I could have spent the 570 hours that is the average it takes to settle an estate. There's no way. There's just no way I could have done it while working.
No.
Yeah.
Working, and many women are still working, clearly because the average age of widows is under retirement age.
Right.
They're still working. They have kids, maybe young, maybe middle school, maybe college.
Right.
There's a whole different context of needs based on the widow's age.
Right.
And so I hate to say we need to, treat it with kid gloves, but we sort of do.
We do.
You would treat a senior who is 72, a widow, differently than a 45-year-old with children.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's definitely a message to all the employers out there. As we're looking out at employee shortages and record numbers of people leaving their jobs. Look at the benefits that you're providing to your employees and make sure that is encompassing their mental health, which includes your bereavement policies. If we don't know when this legislation, if and when it's going to take place, in the meantime, I challenge companies to look at your policies. Look at how you're treating the employees who are really in the dumps of or the depths of despair due to a loss.
Yes.
So,
I thought of the pits of despair from Princess Bride.
Pits of despair, depths of despair.
Yes.
We're just throwing it all
Yeah.
out there.
I think you've hit on a wonderful topic because grief leadership is needed now more than ever.
Grief literate. I mean, we're just the gold is just pouring out of this.
It is.
IG Live. It's almost like I can't take it. Like it's too much. It's too much.
It's too much.
But it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So
yeah, I love what you are doing to help widows and to help them in that just, I mean, pile upon pile of stuff they need to do. You know, when I first met you, you were like, I kind of am like a personal organizer for somebody who's grieving.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's pretty huge.
Well, and right back at you. I mean, you are single-handedly flipping the script on how widows are treated, not only by professionals in their companies and their employers, and you are challenging more and more to be grief literate. And what was the other word, grief
Leadership is needed.
Grief leaders. I love that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just love those two words, and I think that they need to be part of our everyday.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I really believe with widows is, you know, I think widows get taken advantage of. Mm-hmm. They, you know, a widow walks onto a car lot, and yeah, that's going to not end well.
That sounds like, widow, really bad.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of places that widows go where they really are suppressed or taken advantage of.
Yes.
And here's the thing that I've really learned about widows and the people that I've gotten to know who are widows. They are smart, mm-hmm. funny, mm-hmm. and they can spot BS a mile away. They're just too darn tired to deal with it.
Yeah.
Half the time, you know?
Yes. Absolutely. They're in that fog. They're exhausted. Mm-hmm. You know, they're doing all the things.
Yeah. I paid too much. I got the extended warranties. I did all of those stupid mm-hmm. things, those money stupid things.
Exactly.
Because I just didn't want to deal with it. And now I can be smarter.
Yeah.
And I want to help widows be smarter.
And I think that, you know, as you and I were talking through, like, challenges to the two people that are listening to us, but the 4,000 that are going to listen to the replay of this.
And 5 of them are my kids, I think.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Hi. But our challenges, you know, our actionable steps is, and we'll share it, you know, looking at the petition, mm-hmm. you know, adding your name to that, reading through what that exactly says. But in the meantime, you know, sharing trusted vendors and resources with widows. Like you said, they're smart as hell, but they are darn tired. And may not have the time to find a plumber who is not going to totally rip them off, mm-hmm. right? So invite them to the picnics, invite them to the trips out of town, offer to pick up the kids at the birthday parties and all the mm-hmm. things, mm-hmm. and don't treat them like a leper.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is the ultimate spinach in your teeth type of situation.
It really, I mean, yeah, I would really love to do an experiment where we see you clear a room just to just see it happen.
I know. I think that would be a really fun role play. We could go to different places around town and see which types of industries will treat us different ways. That would be kind of ornery, but I kind of do have a little bit of orneriness. My mom always says I'm naughty yet nice.
Naughty yet nice. I love it. I mean, that's the perfect combination. I love it. Yeah, we could go to a car lot. We could go to a bar. We could go to, I don't know, an accountant's office, an attorney. We could do all the things.
Mm-hmm. It could be fun.
It could be fun. Yeah.
Because we're grievers and we've been grieving and we're widows and we have nothing to do except babysit our cats.
I get you to wear like the full scale mourning gear just to like totally psych people out?
I could see it.
Okay. All right.
I could see it. Yeah.
We got the veil. We got the black wedding ring. We're gonna
Yes.
do it all. The umbrella. Yes, we're gonna do it all.
You might as well look the part.
Exactly. We're gonna, I'm either whole hog or I'm nothing. So
Yeah, one brownie's the whole pan for me. So
we're gonna have the whole pan of brownies. All right. So we've got, what have we got? Our steps. I think we've gone over our actionable steps for the world out there, for everybody who's listening, or just if you know a widow, reach out to them today.
Yes, that's one thing
You can do right now.
Yes. You won't believe, number one, how great you're going to make her feel.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, you're going to relish in that all day.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. It's like whipped cream on your heart. You just.
There's another one, whipped cream on your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And just, okay. We have just, you have bestowed so many gold nuggets.
Well, right back at you.
I mean, all right. So when are we going to do this again? And what are we going to talk about next time?
Well, I think people should ask us. Maybe they could ask us in the comment, what do you want us to talk about? Because, a lot of things could be solved if people would have asked us first.
That's true. That's true. I mean, and I think the world deserves to hear our talents. And,
well, and I really believe this, and I learned this from one of my first coach, Marcia Van Weinsberg, and she said, you've got to tell your story because it's going to make a difference in somebody else's life.
Yes, it is. And because people see themselves in you. Mm-hmm. Something resonates and they're like, oh gosh, I had that happen to me too, or I've experienced that too, or I could imagine that, and it just pulls us all together. The whipped cream on the heart.
Yep. Because I believe what you and I are doing is so important in life. I think of our losses and I think of, my husband didn't teach me about how to die. He taught me how to live.
Yeah.
And we're all going to have to experience deaths in our lives. And it's what you learn of how to be better and do better that I think really matters.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better to end this, our magical Instagram Live commemorating.
Hashtag unicorns.
Hashtag unicorns, exactly. Hashtag original selfie. If you're listening, reach out to a widow today. Check out the link that I'm going to share. Follow Kathi B. Listen to the One Well Widow podcast, which they can find wherever you find your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, all the things. And we'd love to hear from you on things and topics that we could explore together for next time.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Talk with you soon. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.